Todd Lamb is a former Army and SWAT team leader whose deep desire to help his wife combat health issues led him to uncover the extraordinary power of natural organic remedies. Todd's passion for health evolved into co-founding PureLife Organics and establishing a mission to impact millions of lives while also creating a healthy planet. Todd's passion for empowering individuals to take control of their own health quickly led to a mission to help improve the health of our planet. You can learn more about Todd and his line of products at PureLifeOrganics.com. We've set up a 20% biohacks discount code for you guys if you want to check out anything that we discuss in this episode. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode with Todd Lamb. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, Anthony, long time no see, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a minute. When you start getting older like we are, time really does fly. 4 years ago. 4 years go by in the blink of an instant. And that's with 2020, which felt like 10 years in and of itself.
I know. I just turned 50, man.
Congratulations.
I'm 26 years longer than I thought I would ever be. So every day's a new world record.
I got to college and I started that whole live fast, die young type lifestyle. And then I was like, I better throttle this back. I don't think I'm actually going to die. It's just going to make me unhealthy.
Yeah, that's right. And live a miserable life. Mine was more a byproduct of my career choices. If I could, the higher speed thing I could do, I was all about it. So
yeah, I hear you. I used to caddy growing up at Briarwood Country Club in my hometown, and I caddied for like Michael Jordan, Ron Harper, a bunch of the guys on like the Bulls that were just crushing everybody. And we'd roll up at like 5:30 in the morning for some of these rounds that would go off at like 6 a.m. And a lot of the guys that worked at like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Board of Trade, it'd be like 5:30 in the morning. And they were ripping lines off the dash of their car. We'd be riding in on our like dyno bikes, and all that. I'm like, all right, they're going to be fired up.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a big, big day, man. Holy.
What happened with you? What were you doing for work and how did it run you down?
So it was, at 20 years old, I was in the military and the special service force there. And so jumping out of some planes and hiding out in bushes for 6 and 8 weeks at a time. And then once I got out of that, I got into policing. And even before that, once I initially got out, I was doing commercial diving for 2 years, just about killed myself doing that. All kinds of sinus issues and just general health issues, spending that much time underwater. So I went from there into policing, had a really fun career. I was in the K-9 unit. I did 2 years undercover, and then I retired after running the SWAT team for 10 years. So some high-speed stuff, man, that there were definitely a few times where I was pretty lucky to make it home.
Before we start getting into more of the health stuff and kind of your trifecta, what's the craziest story from your 10 years in SWAT?
Oh man, it depends. Like we had some real good critical incidents, but I remember one time in particular where I thought it was it. Like I was in a high-speed pursuit. The guy bailed out as I rounded the corner. His car was empty. So I just kind of, like you do, you approach the scene with caution, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see him. I saw this flash running towards me, gun out. He had a Glock pistol and he was coming towards the truck. So, it's interesting, you talk about mental rehearsal and these types of things. The moment that I recognized that it was a gun and, felt like it was, this was it. It was just hard in reverse, full gas, drew my pistol, got on the radio. I don't even know how I had enough hands to do what I was doing. Created time and distance, got my gun out, got my dog out. As I got my dog out, he took his girlfriend as a hostage, and that turned into about a 2.5 hour standoff with this guy where, eventually the team got on the ground and we were able to take him into custody without a shot fired. But that was the most dynamic and hairy one where I'd initiated it, I was on my own for a good 20, 25 minutes until the team could get mobilized and get on the ground. But
holy cow. I can only imagine what your heart felt like.
Yeah, it was for many days after, in my throat, because it's very surreal when you think about all your training and your ability to react and mental rehearsal and being prepared for those situations. Some dudes just get lucky some days, and they just a lucky shot. Fortunately, even as I look back and watched him run towards the vehicle, his shooting platform wasn't very good. So he would have just been lucky had he got me, but he didn't. And here we are.
When you hear stories like that, it seems like guys, especially like such a big adrenaline dump, it seems like some guys either like don't sleep at all after, or it's like really hard for them to sleep because they're so fired up. Or the opposite, where they get that dump and then their body's just like, oh, okay, I'm not dead, I can relax now.
Yeah, I feel like I had a bit of both. So initially, the immediate sort of call it 24 hours of processing, going through, did I do everything right? And of course, everybody got home okay. It was fantastic. But you're always critiquing yourself. I always want to do things better, but just processing, how it all came out. And of course, there's multiple levels of report writing. And so you're trying to compile these incidents in your brain in a coherent way. And it's just so fragmented. So that kind of keeps you awake. And then once that subsides, you have some of the deepest, heaviest sleeps you've ever felt, because of the amount of brain power that you're using during that period.
Well, that's a beautiful segue into the 3 pillars of health, because one of them is sleep. And now more than ever, a lot of people are having difficulty sleeping, whether that's anxieties and stresses about the state of the world, whether that's, too much time on devices in front of screens. There's a lot of things that's sort of attacking our quality sleep, if you will. Let's speak a little bit on sleep, and kind of work through some of your pillars of health in a fun way that the audience will
try to keep them awake.
Yeah, we'll try.
Awesome.
only the ones that are driving.
That's awesome. So when you and I sat around that table back in 2017 at Yuri's, there we talked about sleep, and we talked about how the pineal body that is so drastically being impacted by all of these external factors, as you mentioned already. Blue light being probably one of the biggest offenders, EMFs that are from cell phones, and now, although I haven't seen the data myself, I'm going to look it up, but AirPods in your ears, and the type of cellular damage that can cause, because it's hitting 5.0 on the EMF scale. Where you're healthy at kind of the 0.2 or 0.3, you don't see cellular damage. So sleep being something that you and I have discussed at length, but what everybody always needs to understand, and I know you're such a massive proponent of this, is that it is the foundation of health. With it, you can get away with a lot of things for a period of time, but if you don't sleep, you die. And it is that period during that specific N3 wave of sleep that you have cellular regeneration and memory compilation. And, too many people, even today, they believe they're getting quality sleep, but they're eliminating, for whatever reason, that N3 wave of sleep. So whether it's some sort of phone in the room, that's just, we've seen the graphs, we've seen the studies that just show you're just not hitting that deep wave that does all this important all the important things in your body, such as, memory and cell regeneration. Fat loss, for example, even happens during these periods, right?
Did you say N3 or M3?
November 3.
November. And what does that stand for?
So that is the way that the sleep phases 1, 2, 3, and now 4 are just categorized. So you've got your, that first stage, very light stage, then you've got your REM sleep, then you've got the regenerative, and then it all circles back. So they've created these 4 phases of sleep, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, just to really categorize the role and function of each phase and why each is so important. And we don't just go through 1, 2, 3, 4. We go through them all repeatedly during the course of an evening. So.
Right. Awesome. And I mean, you made a good point there that during that deep and REM restorative sleep is like when a lot of our memory consolidation and even brain detoxification occurs through the glymphatic system, kind of pumping out some of these toxins that we know can impact cognition and increase our risk of neurodegenerative disease. What typically happens when people aren't sleeping is like they're okay for a while. And sometimes it's even fun where they're just like, all of a sudden I've got all this extra time, but then inevitably like your memory starts to get screwed up or other cognitive things start to show up. Dana White, the president of the UFC, was talking about that. He's like, he's been unable to sleep for years, probably in part just due to how much he's got to be on his phone. And he's like, now it's starting to affect my memory. He's like, I'm having conversations and I'm like forgetting shit. He was like, he couldn't remember his favorite trilogy fight. And he's like, I should fucking know this. He's like, he goes, I'm going to get a fucking sleep study. This is starting to mess me up.
So it's what people should realize around that kind of stuff is that memories are electricity, right? That's what creates that memory in your brain. Let's say they're pulses of electric current running through your brain cells. And so when you think of cheesecake, for example, your brain will actually send you the coded message that says cheesecake looks like this, feels like this, tastes like this. But as you start to degenerate and you go through those neurodegenerative processes that you already talked about, you're like, I can't even think of the word, like, what's your favorite dessert? And you're like, and you can see a portion of it in your brain, like, holy, it's fucking cheesecake, but I can't remember it because I haven't slept well enough. My brain has not been detoxified. I'm continually being exposed to these external variables that impact, and as I've said, through anything and everything, you don't have your health, you have nothing. People with all the money in the world would give it all back to have their health and live a healthy, happy life.
Sure. Do you put your phone in airplane mode or keep it out of the room when you sleep? Like, what do you do for sleep hygiene and that and other things?
Yeah. So we call it at my house, we call it the shutdown sequence. And my wife sometimes breaks it and she catches shit from me. But for me, it's 8 p.m. every night, phone's on airplane mode, and I just leave it out in the kitchen charging. You can't get me after 8 p.m. What I do from a hydration standpoint, I stop. I have a bladder like a small kitten. So if I have something to drink before bed, that's it, right? Then you're suffering from being woken up and having to hit the bathroom. But like cold, dark, nothing that is external light that's getting in. I mean, I'm not in a full blackout room. I'd love to be, but temperature is important. Bed comfort obviously is important, but from a ritualistic shutdown sequence, the phones are the biggest one. Any type of electrical interference in the room is removed. And it's funny. I automatically see this happen when I go to hotels where you don't have that luxury of being that that vigilant. I have to unplug things, take clocks out and all that.
I can't sleep in hotels. I go from like 7. Usually I get between like at the low end 6.5, but call it 7 hours to like sometimes even 8.5 hours. If I go in a hotel, and it's been like this now for like probably 18 months or even 2 years, I sleep like 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm just like in bed and I'm up. And I'm like, I can't sleep anymore. And I know I didn't regenerate, but it's like, I was like, F this. I'm just going to start renting Airbnbs where I have like, a little bit more control. Yeah. Because the hotels, everyone's obsessed with like more power, faster. Like, I want all the G's, give me all the G's. And I'm like, that path doesn't end well, guys.
No. What are you doing for your sleep routine these days? I know you were monitoring your sleep pretty close when we talked.
So I well, I had Lyme disease, and then
Yep.
I got bit again in October twice up at our lake house. And it was really affecting me. And that messes with your sleep hardcore, where like a lot of people start treating a Lyme and their deep sleep and their REM sleep goes way up. I'd gotten good Oura Ring sleep scores with still dealing with that stuff, but wasn't waking up feeling good. I went to Germany and did extreme whole body hyperthermia. It's basically like they heat you up to 107 degrees. And I mean, you're unconscious. They give you a sedative where like they could wake you up if they needed to, but you're out.
Yeah.
And they keep you there for 2 hours because they found that the bacteria in Lyme is very similar to the bacteria in syphilis. The bacteria known as syphilis, and it's extremely heat sensitive. So they do this process twice. They combine it with they call it like antibiotic augmented therapy, where lower doses of antibiotics are way more effective. Like normally I'm not a huge proponent of antibiotics, but when you've had Lyme, you're like, I need to try something because it's fucking awful. And after I did that, I'm about 2 months out now, and my sleep is awesome. I wake up feeling great.
Awesome.
Like my brother was joking. He's like, dude, like before Germany, he goes, you'd sleep some mornings till like 10. And he goes, I'd have my whole morning routine, my workout done, everything. And it was like, and I'm normally pretty good and disciplined to getting up, but it was like, dude, I was just slowly drowning from this shit. And then after Germany, now it's like 6 a.m., 6:30. I'm just waking up naturally, no alarm needed, feeling great.
I love that.
That's a huge one, man. And the doctor there, he was like, Anthony, I have a strong suspicion that a lot of Alzheimer's is Lyme in the brain, undiagnosed.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm mentioning that just so that it's in more people's awareness. These like low level chronic infections, I would hypothesize that they're largely responsible for like the beta amyloid plaques and the tau proteins and things like that. Like the body's trying to deal with something undiagnosed, or heavy metals, which you're aware of. So I love that you got the shutdown sequence, 8 p.m. phones go in airplane mode. That's everyone in the house. You stop hydrating, so you're not up all night peeing. You make sure your room is cold and dark, no external light. I dig it. My sleep routine a lot is our whole house is wired. So I stopped with the Wi-Fi and all that, like wouldn't even have it in the house in 2017. I'd done a podcast with Dr. Jack Cruz. He really opened my eyes to it. And that makes a big difference. And I try not to be an asshole and like on my phone all day. Cause I've noticed even if I'm on for a few hours and I get off, I'm like, it's like my nervous system is amped up and it's difficult. And even if I do sleep where I can't tell that I was like not going as deep, I feel it the next morning.
Yeah.
It's a difference. It's like I'm not hitting that deep sleep. I usually struggle with deep more than REM according to the Oura Ring. That's a lot of the stuff that I do. And I always sleep better when if I do an ice bath or like a polar plunge, that night, my sleep scores are like off the charts.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's something that I need to explore a little more on, as well as red light exposure. Have you guys had any analysis into that?
Yeah. What I've done I've got some of the lights down here. You can't see them but like a lot of the lights in our house are red lizard lights. like that you would get. I think they're called zoo lights or something like that. And I've got one of these things here. It's called an EMR Tech. This is a great company, and this one it's plugged in. So I'll show you. It's got two lights. So you got like this real powerful one in the middle. That's good for like if you're doing body work and you want to, reduce inflammation or increase blood flow or target the mitochondria in a specific area, right? So like my hand, super relevant, right? And then you've got these other ones that are like ambient lighting, where you can turn off all the lights in a room and have like one of these, and it's just like a nice red ambient light. And you don't have to walk around with like, sometimes I don't want to wear the glasses. You know what I mean? Or like the
Yeah, of
glasses
course.
that work best. I'm like walking into the coffee table, and you know what I mean? So sometimes I'll turn these. I'll do it like this, where you got the big one in the middle off, and then the other one's
Yeah.
on, and it's actually like nice ambient lighting. So
Oh, I'm
that's some
going to look
stuff
into that.
I mess around
That's
with. Yeah,
amazing.
I think we got a Biohacks discount code with them. They're great dudes. He made one for Duncan Keith, who's got like 3 Stanley Cups, an Olympic gold medal with the Blackhawks, and he's now going to be playing for Edmonton. But he made one for him that's like he can lay down on the table on like a massage table, and it's got like going down all of his chakra centers and energy meridians, like a huge red light. And then it's got all these auxiliary like light ones. So for like recovery and stuff, he can go on there and just get like a huge blast of red light for 10 or 15 minutes.
I love pro athletes, man. They're particularly those who are just like absolutely mental about their health and longevity.
Those are the ones I like. Awesome. All right. So that nails sleep. Let's talk about, are there any supplements you take for sleep?
Yeah, always. So it'll be a combination. It'll be dependent on where I feel like my sleep cycle is good or bad. But hands down, every night, magnesium, 300 milligrams, whether I need it or not. There's something about magnesium on its own for me that is just a very good baseline. It just relaxes, the mental state and my muscles, because I spend a fair bit of time training. And so it seems to alleviate some of the soreness, but things like magnolia bark, I will absolutely use that.
That's good for anxiety too.
Yep, absolutely. Calcium, L-glycine, ashwagandha, even chamomile will put in. I've used 5-HTP. I've used GABA. GABA is
I love 5-HTP.
Yeah, GABA 5-HTP is awesome. The combination of 5-HTP and GABA gave me nightmares.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, well, this is for the last 4 or 5 nights I've been having nightmares, like scary ones where you're full on being chased and can't get away.
Where guys like running at you with a gun, and then he takes his girlfriend hostage,
and I go to shoot, and the bullet just comes out of the end of the gun and drops like a fucking potato. It's like
an impotent bullet.
Totally. Or you pull the trigger and it's a dead trigger. All those bad nightmares. So when I went off GABA and I just stayed with 5-HTP, no problem. So there's something, either my dose was a little high, or it's one of those things that just has the ability to unlock those particular electric brain waves. It was pretty crazy, but those are some of them for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I joke that I've got a long and illustrious history of paternal treatment resistant depression, and 5-HTP and SAMe were like huge game changers for me. Okay. Like both, if anyone listening is dealing with, the 5-HTP, as you mentioned, like 100 to 200 milligrams of that before bed helps a lot with sleep quality. And but it also boosts your mood and serotonin synthesis. What form of magnesium do you use? Are you doing like an L-threonate, like the more of a brain central nervous system targeting one, or are you doing one that's more like just whole body, hit everything?
Citrate, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nothing specific. L-threonate. That's interesting. Are you referring to something that incorporates L-theanine, or
there's a
just completely different magnesium?
Yeah, it's a different form of magnesium, specifically that crosses. It gets into the central nervous system, and it is a lot of people take it for cognitive function, and there's a lot of exciting research on it. It's spelled L-Threonate. Jaro makes it. The Bioptimizers guys.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got a magnesium product that contains a number of different forms of magnesium, including the L-threonate one. That's I think it's like Mag Breakthrough or something. That's a really good product. And then there's like Life Extension makes it, and some of those companies.
Well, Wade and those guys. Wade is all about the body, right? He's an interesting cat for sure.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's awesome. We ended up going out to we were at the biohacker summit in Helsinki, and just like we're in Helsinki, like across the world, and we both run into each other. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? and we just caught up. And I'm like, are you going to this party? And he's like, heck yeah. We went to this party in Helsinki, and people were playing like beach volleyball indoors and like riding surfboards. They had a wave pool and a DJ with like all this like psychedelic stuff behind him. They had saunas in there. So like I had a few cocktails and then got in a sauna. I didn't feel the best after that. Let's talk about pillar number 2. Kids, don't try that at home.
Oh, that's amazing. So we focus on nutrition as the next pillar. Obviously foundational sleep, and then into nutrition. And I'm not that guy that's polarizing when it comes to nutrition. There is something that works for somebody and something that works for somebody else. And so what we encourage people to do is really understand what works for them, whether you need to lose weight, whether you need to add muscle, whether you're just feeling inflammatory as a result of eating. There's a lot of different methodologies. There's no one way to optimal nutrition, but what we encourage people to do at the very minimum is to track what you're eating for at least 2 weeks in your life, and just see what that net result of what it is that you're doing is producing. Like, do you feel good? Do you feel bad? Are you losing weight? Are you gaining weight? Do you feel energetic, or do you feel bloated? And just understand that. And then you can start to manipulate very simple variables like macronutrients, or things like the type of vegetables that you're eating. Are they cooked, or are they, when they're cooked, do you digest them easier? Just those very simple tactics that can really lead to a world of change.
For sure. That's probably one of, if not the biggest things anyone listening could do if they haven't, is track for 2 weeks and see, like, become aware of those cause and effect relationships with food, and if you wanted like a structure, like Todd mentioned, a pretty good one, track things like your energy, your mood, your cognitive performance, inflammation or mobility in your body, and you'll start to realize, you're like, oh my God, I've been eating this for lunch like 3 days a week. And I crash on those days that I do. You know?
Exactly. Right. Like that. It's like, why am I suddenly, I can't focus in the afternoons, or when I wake up, my fingers are swollen, like what the hell is going on?
I can't get my ring off. I get it. Like the broccoli cheddar soup and a Panera bread bowl is delicious, but it's like, you got to know what these things are doing to your body. And it's been interesting, man. Even just these past few years, like nutrition is huge. I've been fascinated with just how fragmented it's gotten, where it's like, and a part of that, I think, is it's become a compensatory tool because there's other stuff going on, and people are like, okay, now I can only eat meat. I guess I'm carnivore. It's like, why can you only eat meat, dude? Like, if you told that to one of our grandparents, they'd be like, you're insane. Why is this normal?
Totally. Like, my grandparents' plate was meat, potatoes, bread, corn, carrots, peas. That's it. You know?
Yeah, I know. We're not asking why we've got all these new diets and everything. And but awareness is key.
It is. It's just such a very simple thing that people can take control of in a way that isn't cumbersome, isn't onerous. It just gives you a body awareness, and that's where success begins, is when you understand what's going on in your world, the same way it works for anything else. But we take food for granted, and it's a pretty big industry, and we get pushed a lot of bullshit, as you know. So but we just, so that in terms of a pillar of our business, we try to educate people around having awareness about what's going into their body, and
Totally.
not being too, being agnostic in the approach to nutrition, because what works for some doesn't work for others.
For sure. And it's completely different making a decision from a place of awareness. Like sometimes I decide I want to drink a 6-pack of beer and eat a block of cheese. Like that's a choice. I get organic or like good beer, and I usually unfiltered, so you don't have like fish bladders and weird shit in there. And that's a real thing too for anyone that's like, what's he talking about?
I'm going to throw out all my beer right now.
Yeah, I know. Look into it. If it's filtered, you got some fish bladders in there. And it's grass-fed cheese, and I know I'm going to be a little bit inflamed afterwards, but I enjoy that stuff, and you can be like, all right, I've been hitting my workouts, I'm sleeping good. I'm doing it in other areas. It's way different when you're aware of it versus I don't know why my whole body hurts and I'm depressed.
And to our earlier point around sleep, and you connected that nicely. This is the thing to understand. Like, let's say you're a fat adapted person, you're trying to do keto, and you say, well, now my sleep is disrupted. Well, maybe you're the type of person, whether you're in ketosis or not, but maybe there's just something about your genetic makeup that is really needs carbs to sleep. So the limited carbs that you have on that protocol, take them at night, so that yes, you're feeling full, but there's just something about the carbohydrates and your brain wanting to function on carbohydrates through that period of regeneration. Some people are just that way, like that's the level of awareness that you can have when you understand what you're putting into your body.
For sure. I know a bunch of people who were doing like low carb or straight carnivore, and they had to get off because they couldn't sleep. They're like, my adrenals and thyroid were fried without carbs, and I get back and I have like a couple of dates, a little bit later in the evening, or I have potatoes, or I have rice with dinner, and they're like, and I sleep great. Honey, raw honey is a big one that helps a lot of people sleep if you do that. How do you like, I'm a big supplement guy. And how do you hit your nutritional requirements outside of food? Like, are there a few go-to supplements that you take?
100%. I'm a pretty lean guy. I'm short and I like to stay lean, but then it requires, to when I can't get lean meats, for example, like I just can't live on straight fish. I can't live on chicken breasts. I like ribeyes, but that can push me, and things happen when you're 50 years old. I don't
metabolize fat as well.
Yeah, exactly. So protein for sure. And for me, it's a whey protein. I like whey protein. I have no problem with anything derived from milk isolates, anything like that. So
what
a very good.
Like?
I like Magnum. For years. It just tastes good, dissolves good.
I've used their condoms. I've never tried their whey protein. I kid. All right.
Different company.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. So Marcus Nealis is, I think, the guy's his last name. Right. I just can't pronounce it. But Magnum's been good and very clean, very low carb, and dissolves great, tastes amazing. But obviously taste is subjective. So protein's a big one. Some of my things like the nutrients and minerals, I've got to add in zinc, magnesium, what else? Potassium. Greens. Well, our greens, geez, I should have jumped on that bandwagon. Our greens are my favorite. So our Pure Immunity greens with all of our different kinds of grasses and mushrooms, and anybody who's into brain health knows about the power of mushrooms, right?
You got any lion's mane in there?
We have lion's mane, we have maitake, king trumpet, shiitake, turkey tail, cordyceps, and then not to mention the grasses are wheatgrass, barley grass, oat grass, alfalfa grass, kale powder, spirulina, astragalus, all of these good things that just are so healthy for your immune system. But because I'm a bit of a bitch, it had to taste good. That was my starting point for creating it.
Yeah, there's so many bad ones. There's
Dude,
so many good ones that taste bad, I should say.
Yeah, totally.
And I look at it and I'm like, I want to take this. I want to like this, and I can't. It just sits in the
Nobody
freezer.
will.
Yeah.
Nobody will. When it tastes bad and stinks, you're not going to taste it. So I had ours manufactured with taste and smell first, because there's a a small dopamine hit when you smell chocolate. And then for us, it's a bit of a fruity, light chocolate taste with these greens and the mushrooms. So
that's a good combo. I haven't tried chocolate greens before.
I know I haven't seen it. So I love it. In fact, I just before the call, I just popped them all back, and those every day, because to be completely honest, I'm brutal when it comes to vegetables. I will just eat the lettuce, and that's it. The rest of it, like the reds and the yellows or nightshades, I stay away from tomatoes. I can't eat them. There's something that, to me, for whatever reason, it tastes like eating tinfoil. So I have to get them in different ways. And it's funny, like the impetus for this company was things that either I needed or my wife needed, So that's what we've developed along the way. I'm like, man, I'm starting to forget some things. I learned to fly helicopters a couple of years ago, and I felt like I was just missing just that sharpness. And so, lo and behold, we're about a week away from finally having developed a brain optimization capsule. So it's funny, but that's exactly what we do. We focus on the things that I need, because I feel like if I need them, most everybody else does.
Yeah. So your pure immunity greens, are those on PureLifeOrganics.com?
They sure are. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then tell us about this cognitive supplement and what's in it, when that'll be on the site as well.
Yeah. So Pure Neuro, we have it in the shop. We're just writing the copy for the store so people can actually get it. So it should be up by the end of the month. It really focuses on mitochondrial health, and what we're using, the studies that we found, was a product called Brazilian green populace, and its ability to address inflammation, particularly in the blood-brain barrier in the brain itself, but through the studies that we have show it across the body.
Did you say propolis?
Yeah.
Like with bees?
Yep, exactly.
Bees. Dope.
Yep.
All right.
Specifically Brazilian green. And
I tried some Brazilian propolis a few years back, and the taste was wretched.
So that's why we put it in a capsule.
There you go.
Not in a powder. We found the efficacy at a certain level, and it's the formulator is a guy out of Florida, an MD. His name is Dr. Anthony Capasso, one of the smartest dudes I've ever met. All about natural health, even though he is in the system as an MD. He is all about cellular mitochondria and powering up those little organelles in the cell, to really create what we categorize as resiliency. People, the key to we're all going to age, but it's the degree to which our cells are resilient and they can regenerate, that we're successful at prolonging the damage that all of the exogenous factors contribute to.
Do you write a lot of your copy for like this Pure Neuro, or do you bring in someone to do that?
My business partner does. Yeah, he writes all of it. So I do all of the internal. Well, we have a COO, and then we have a project manager, and then we have staff. But I do a bunch of the short, call it platform marketing. So I look after all of our media buying and that kind of stuff. But our long form, my business partner, that his sole job is to is to write copies. So inside,
he must be good.
He's good, man. Yep. He's multi 7-figure sales letters. So, he's pumped out enough of them along the way. He understands the mechanism, but other things we've included in Pure Neuro, melatonin, because of its antioxidants. Glutathione is in there. We've got a mushroom blends. We've got, this one I always stumble on. It's the Shayna chrysanthia. Dr. Capasso loves that. And then, of course, zinc and some good stuff in there. So these capsules are packed. They're loaded. And I can't wait to get them on the ground here so I can start my regimen. But
that's sweet.
That will be my daily go-to for sure.
I assume you take that at night?
Yep.
So it's like assisting some of that regenerative process?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Two at night before bed. All right. Dope. Yep. Third pillar, so Pure Neuro, guys, PureLife Organics. You get it. Discount code biohacks. You know it. All right. Continue. Third pillar.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. We'll get you guys set up biohacks 20 so you can get 20% off anything that you feel like. Third pillar, exercise, man. And I don't care what people do, just get out and move. If you aren't moving, you lose it. And in fact, one of the biggest killers of people in their 60s, 70s, 80s is a simple broken hip. And most of them, they can't rehabilitate. They don't come out of the hospital. Not most. I mean, there's a lot of good rehabilitation now, but surprising the number of people die of broken hips. So, mobility is a critical part of that. So you don't need to be doing crazy body weight workouts or crazy weighted workouts. Get out and walk, stretch, flex your hips, do 90-90, from a mobility standpoint. If you're doing nothing else, if you got tight back, do 90-90, but exercise is that third pillar of health.
For sure. We, a friend who's, I don't want to name any names, but he was found to he started like stumbling on some of his words. This is a real smart guy, forgetting some things. And they found out, they rushed him to the hospital, found out he had a brain tumor. And so it was basically the size of his brain. So he had like two masses the size of a brain squeezed into his skull. They had to do emergency surgery. It was like stage 4, right? Oh. And so I just sent him like a little, hey, hey brother, hope you have a quick recovery. Yeah. 2 days later, he responds to me and he's out walking, getting some exercise in because he was allowed to do that. That's wow. That's his personality is like, as soon as I can walk, I'm going to, because you're right. If you don't use it, you lose it. And there's a lot of people who would, who are paralyzed or have other conditions that prevent them from using their body the way that it's intended. You know what I mean? And for us to have it and not use it, I think is sort of turning our nose up at one of life's great gifts.
Dude, perfect example in my own family. My dad was in a car accident as a 16-year-old. Back then, they put you in a cast for 2 years. Which would never happen today. The moment you're out of surgery, you're getting that thing moving. So, fast forward to he's 76 now. That ankle that was in that cast for 2 years has been nothing. He wasn't able to remain active for his whole life because of the amount of pain that would continuously cause, multiple surgeries. Eventually he had to have it fused. That caused even more issues. And he's basically, as a 76-year-old guy, immobile, because he just simply can't. And we talk about the benefits of mobility. And whereas my mom has been super active her whole life at 76, she can still outpace some of the kids. Like she's, it's crazy, but nothing too wild. She gets out and walks. She is always moving, those kinds of things. She uses her body. And as we age, it is so critical.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's good. My dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's back in 2015. And I've seen some, if we want him to be dramatically better. And for those of you guys that haven't seen this, like there's videos where you can see people with Parkinson's getting on a bike and going from like can't walk, all their limbs are experiencing like dyskinesia, where they're going all over the place. And then they ride on the bike for like 10 or 20 minutes and then all of a sudden they can walk. And then, like I've seen it with my dad, the difference in engaging in physical exercise that at least in part increases the electricity in our body, getting muscles to fire and that sort of thing. Yeah. I think it can correct some of these conditions that are like basically losing electricity. And it certainly helps. And I've seen it with my dad. So yeah, guys, get out and move, exercise, sleep, good nutrition, good stuff. Todd.
Yes.
Anything else that you'd like to share? I mean, we've told,
well, here's the deal, man. Yeah. So, despite all that, our mission on this planet, while I'm here anyways, is to create healthy people and a healthy planet. And I know when people are healthy and their lives are satisfied and full, that they go above and beyond themselves. So, the old phrase, well, my cup's full, so I'm going to fill other people. And so when you have your health, I feel like that's when you can actually give. You're contributing in your community, you're volunteering, you're lifting others up. But when you're not healthy, you can only focus on yourself. So we've taken some of this success in our business and we're going to solve reforestation in our lifetime. People are like, ooh, that's a tall order. Good luck, bud. But what we found is 4 very smart companies that we're funding directly with sales from these products that are using drones for reforestation. And inside of these drones are seeds that they have patents on that are proprietary, that can not only, once they're injected by the drones on mass scale, 8 times faster than any human can do it. Oh. These drones seeds or seed pods are able to live on their own for up to 8 months. So if they get planted in an area that's a little bit dry or rain doesn't come right away, they'll live. They've got all the nutrients they need, called mycorrhiza, inside that seed pod to live for up to 8 months, and then they germinate, and they have an 80% germination rate. And so,
dude, this is nuts in a good way.
There's a company in the States we've funded called Drone Seed, a company in Canada called Flash Forest that we have funded specific R&D projects, one in Australia that is called Airseed Tech. And then the biggest player in the space is out of England, that's funded by a lot of people, but a fund run by Tom Chi, who is from Google, called Dendra AI. And they are the whale in the space. But if these companies could overcome some of the bureaucratic and political bullshit that happens, we'd have the ability to replant en masse. It's the first time that there has been meaningful technology on the side of reforestation. Technology has always been on the harvest side. And now we've got these companies that said, well, if they're going to cut that quick, let's come plant that quick. And they can come in and smash these forests and get them replanted. And then they can start to manage that resource, that 2 to 3 year growth, or they can plant a 300-year forest that's going to be around and suck all the carbon out, So it's pretty cool.
It's fascinating. Have you guys thought about getting some drones that shoot rubber bullets at the people that are cutting down trees? I feel like that would be a great,
I know, man. I'm sitting here at my wooden desk, but I will say this.
It just shoots the dudes cutting down trees in the junk with a rubber bullet. Like no one's going to take that job.
I will say this. There's an absolute place for forestry. We need it. Our society won't exist without it. So it needs to be managed properly. But I will say this, when you're going we have a place just outside where I live called Fairy Creek, which it's one of the last pristine stands of old growth. And it's owned by a logging company who has been trying desperately to cut it down so they can make guitars and roof shingles. Like if you're solving cancer, I'd have a conversation with you like, hey, the key to cancer lies in this old growth forest. but it's not. They're just cutting it for luxury goods, and that's not cool, man. And so there's these guys, friends of the forest, and some of the elements within these friends of the forest called dragons, who will go pour cement into the logging roads and chain themselves to the roads for weeks and months at a time. Like they'll just rotate through and prevent these logging companies. So we've had a 6-month standoff about an hour from where I live, just trying to maintain. So I took the helicopter over this forest and filmed it all. And we got a filming company up there to just tell the story of this forest. Like, it's just, dude, those trees have seen existences come and go. Yeah. There's no reason to be cutting them down. There just isn't.
Not at all. Not at all. What's the company that does that? You said the dragons. Like, how would you find that company?
That's not a company. That is an activist group, and they're called Friends of the Forest. Friends of the Forest. Yeah, but if you look up Fairy Creek, Fairy Creek blockade, it's out here on Vancouver Island. It's been worldwide stories on what's going on out here, but the one before this that they successfully stopped was in Clayoquot Sound, also on the island here. We had Midnight Oil come and perform a concert at these blockades just to bring people's attention to it. So nice. That was a long time ago. But.
That's sweet. That's sweet. Yeah. So what's for people that want to support some of the work you're doing with reforestation and want to pick up your Pure Immunity Greens, the Pure Neuro, as soon as that's ready, go to PureLifeOrganics.com, enter discount code. Is it Biohacks20?
Biohacks20. We're getting that spun up today.
BIOHACKS 20. And if you are there before the end of this month, which is, what is it, August? Then Pure Neuro.
It's already done. It's already done.
It's already live. There we go.
Yeah,
we're live. The discount code is live. Nice.
Just got the note.
Any other products they should pick up while they're in there and support?
Well, there's Pure Sleep that's in there. And if you don't like capsules, you can try our Deep Sleep tea that's in there. If you've got inflammation issues, we've got a morning tea. That was the kind of the origin story for our whole brand called Flat Belly Tea, but it's a turmeric-based tea.
Yeah, that's been crushing for you guys.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful. So if you've got blood sugar issues, we have glucose control, all natural-based products that are research-based. The people that stand behind them are either have a PhD or an MD, and we stand by their work, which is why we've brought them on to help them promote. And the way that it works is we take a portion of our sales volume and we directly support drone reforestation. So
that is sweet.
Yeah, man.
Really cool. Well, Todd, it's been awesome catching up. I appreciate what you're working on. And guys, go to PureLifeOrganics.com, discount code Biohacks20. Todd Lamb will have to do it again.
My pleasure, Anthony. Thank you so much.